The NBA is filled with 450 of the most incredibly gifted athletes in the world. As in, they're so rare that they literally come across one time out of a million. They're separated from the rest of us in some extraordinary way that translates to the game of basketball. That's what all NBA players have in common, whether that trait be height, coordination, footwork, or a combination of all of those things. That, however, doesn't change the fact that they're still a person, still human. Humans that come in all types of shapes and sizes, different colors, different backgrounds, different personalities. Stephen Curry, despite being tied so closely to LeBron James in the past 4 years, had an upbringing and childhood that's so completely and utterly different from him that if not for basketball, they would never ever cross paths. Without basketball, players are normal.
You getting it? Hop on, man. Play one.
They're like you and me. They don't necessarily have to have traditional marketable values. Some don't want to. Even the one common binding factor that is thought to hold all NBA members together, the love of the game, can differ. There are players who are tabbed historically as not caring for the game. There are others that hold on to it for dear life, perhaps too long. But anyway, the point is that players aren't just that. They have passions and interests that you could expect of any other person not in the league that leads a normal life. Just because we're shown that their lives completely revolve around basketball, it doesn't mean that's all they are. Even if that were the truth, such a life would have to come to an end, and relatively quick. The average NBA All-Star can be expected to play, let's say, 15 years in the league. Taking into account the 19 to 20 years prior that they've spent preparing for that career, we can say that the NBA's best dedicate about 35 years to the game. Mediocre players spend less time, naturally. The average player's career is said to be about 5 years. That's 20 to 25 years of dedicated basketball. The average American lifespan is about 76 years. Beyond basketball, NBA players still have more than half of their life to spend on activities that require more than just court translatable talents. That doesn't change. What does change, however, is the condition of the player's body. Kyrie Irving noted recently that tremendous strain is placed on their bodies each and every day for over 9 months a year for an incredible amount of time. He has first-hand experience. The toll that it takes on players is a result of the sacrifice to the game, and most every league retiree deals with it for the rest of their lives. Shaquille O'Neal is the classic example. His feats are viral for all the wrong reasons. They'll be redacted for viewer purposes. Charles Barkley also sacrificed for the game. The price that he paid was a replaced hip and lifetime of pain. They gave the game some of its greatest players, but those same gifts they gave have permanently affected them. There are countless instances of former professional athletes dealing with some type of everyday ache and pain, most of them going unprinted. But it definitely exists. Kevin Durant's already given accounts of this despite wording it super weird. An article done by the Bay Area NBC station has KD saying that at reaching 26 and 27 years of age, he felt his body talking to him a little bit after the game or practice, and that he's been trying to figure out what it means.
What?
Whatever he's trying to say, you guys can hold your own view on that. But he's likely talking about aches and pains that he's been experiencing even throughout the current goings of his career. Coincidentally, that's the same stage that Kyrie's at, where he's making similar claims but through different wordings and context. Speaking of, KD is an all-time great, like it or not. Kyrie Irving has the potential to be an all-time great. He's already shown it on the world's biggest stage. Yet, they're taking an entirely different approach on the NBA and career. They're both on the record as to the topic of retiring. Kevin wants to retire at 35, and Kyrie perhaps even earlier. They're both under 30 years of age. This abridged career plan isn't what we see from players so talented. Kevin Durant is widely regarded as one of the best scorers to have ever lived, and he'd be a guaranteed top 15 player if he'd have won a chip with OKC. Kyrie Irving was a defining factor in the greatest championship series ever, and already has his career-defining moment. They both love the game. In their respective interviews, they make that clear. In fact, they talk about it lovingly, as a craft for them to perfect and hone. It just doesn't control them. Or rather, the idea of professional basketball doesn't control them. KD used a metaphor to best express his feelings in an interview a few hours after winning his second title. He compared the NBA to like a school, and no matter how much you enjoy the school, at some point you're going to have to graduate. He feels that he doesn't have to chase any type of record or accolade or all-time standing, simply that he wants to take his career for his own. Later, he goes back and dismisses the idea.
When I'm done, I will,
You said you were going to retire when you're 35, is that?
Yeah, that was just...
Yeah, that was just...
I would just think, crazy stuff, in the times of the day. I don't know why I said it at that. Maybe it was too much champagne that night.
But crazy ideas don't appear from out of the blue. All ideas, no matter how out of pocket or preposterous the person says they are, come from somewhere. Players can dismiss thoughts or interviews and blame it on alcohol or whatever, but the fact that they said it means that they thought it. And for a thought concerning the future, they didn't probably just think it, they pondered it, considered it, before it left their mouths to be broadcasted to the national media. Kyrie revealed in an interview with The Undefeated that he's talked with Kevin on the topic of retiring early, and his mind is on the same track as his. Quote, "Basketball really is a great vehicle to get to different places in your life, and I feel that the value for some individuals would change over time. I think that's part of not necessarily wanting to be subjected to just being an NBA player anymore. You can dive into so many different avenues, and once you aren't necessarily committed to the game anymore, you're afforded that time." End quote. Kevin Durant made a decision that decimated his standings all time. He made near enemies with millions, which he knew full well would happen when he committed, since he's won 2 championships and is en route to a three-peat. Kyrie Irving left LeBron James after making the finals for the 3rd straight time, citing his desire to lead his own team. He did this when he was 25 years of age. His Celtics then went on to secure the number 2 seed and push LeBron James to 7 games. If this year's team pulls it together, he ended up putting himself in a better situation after leaving literally one of the game's greatest players. It's pretty obvious after seeing these decisions laid out like that KD and Kyrie don't care about how they're perceived in the media. Or rather, they do care, but they don't let it get in the way of what they think is right. Out of all of the players currently in the league, these are the 2 that have caused the most media outcry in recent years. Kyrie has many infamous quotables, and the flat earth thing caused one of the biggest NBA controversies that ended up including my freshman science teacher. KD, he sorta goes without saying. In a place where they have to succumb, in a way, to the media and the fans in order to keep up this image for the league and its members, players have had to deal with all types of pains and aches and rushed injuries to make sure the product image stays intact. KD and Kyrie more than likely have considered this. It's not just that, of course. The way the NBA is going with advancements that help the player avoid and prevent injuries, from better medical staffs to physical rule changes, it's more than likely that they won't have to experience anywhere near the pain that their formers did. But KD and Kyrie have interests outside of basketball, added dimensions to them, so to speak. Kevin just launched publicly a venture capitalist group by the name of 35 Ventures, and within that there's a group known as 35 Media, and they're already producing content for the new subscription program for ESPN. He's also got a YouTube channel that documents moments of his life.
What up, players? It's your boy, KD.
He's also a photographer. He's also a rapper. As for Kyrie, he was literally the main character for a full-length film that went in theaters nationwide just last year. He also says that he's looking to pursue screenwriting and producing after his career is over. He attended the newly formed business program at Harvard, focused towards educating athletes on the correct ways to carry their businesses once their career is over. He's a self-proclaimed conspirator. He wants to go back to college, and he can also sing. We be doing what we like. See, for guys who just seem like all they do is play basketball, they've got a lot more to them. This, of course, isn't just limited to these 2 guys. Every single person in the NBA's got something more than just playing. It's human nature. Even Michael Jordan, the greatest ever, had other passions to curb his competitiveness. Gambling, cigars, and golf are all integral parts to a man who's basically basketball personified. The NBA isn't everything. That's what KD and Kyrie have seen and, more importantly, spoken out about. By doing so, they're setting a precedent that other players of their caliber are going to follow in the future. It may take some time, however. This didn't just come out of nowhere. It came from security, something that takes a while to grasp. As championship holders and established elite players, they're secure in where they're going to be in life. They both have goals that they want to achieve, maybe a certain number of championships or MVPs, but whatever it is, it's for their own person. But that's the end after that. I mean, there are multi-millionaires that just got their start off of basketball. That's it. They're not trying to become bigger than life through basketball. They want to live. It's not that they don't love the game or they're not competitive. That couldn't be further from the truth. It's just that they value their life after the NBA just as much, or maybe even a little bit more.